Hi guys, welcome to the channel, to Ron and Gina's YouTube channel. I want to talk about safety today. Safety in the Philippines. Do I feel safe in the Philippines? I can only speak for myself, and I feel safe. I never felt, you know, worried about my safety, and I've been living in different places in the Philippines. Uh, I've been in Cebu, I've been in Tacloban, I've been in Cavite, now I'm in Manila. And, I have never felt unsafe during this time I've been living in the Philippines. Then I would be lying. So, but also it depends, that I am not running on nightclubs. I'm not out late during the night. I'm just an old man who's have my family. So I'm not have that nightlife. So I can't talk about that. But I can only speak for myself, how I have experienced life in the Philippines. And for me, I have felt safe, and I've felt much more freedom in the Philippines than back home. Because like I said before, you have a lot of more freedom here to be, without any expectations, from me anyway. I don't know if other people have expectations, the Filipino people or whatever. I'm doing the best I can, and so that's it. And for me, that freedom feeling that I have, and instead of, I don't feel any, when I'm out alone or whatever I do, and wherever I lived, I don't feel unsafe. But that's me. I can speak for everyone else, and tell them, how they should feel or not feel. Uh, you know. But I know now I have the question come up because foreigners have been killed in the Philippines, and people talking about it, even on YouTube I see. And it's a question, I saw one channel brought up a guy from UK who brought up he's living here for 9 years, I think, and he's seen now the progress, more drugs in the Philippines that people use, and I can't speak about that either because I don't see that, even if I live in Manila, because I am. I'm not that guy running around everywhere in Manila because I live in Manila. When I was younger, I had probably doing that, more. But now, when I'm older, I don't have that need. So, I'm not around that much. So, that's also one thing. But, like I said, I heard it from other people too, both Filipino and foreign. So and people are feeling unsafe, and that's what I want to do. That's why I want to do this video, because I want to talk about it too, because I want to say how I feel, and don't discourage people to come to Philippines. And it depends what you're doing when you come here. If you're in the nightclubs, and causing problems, start fighting with people, whatever, that's a stupid thing to do. But, otherwise, I can't, if you do live a quiet life and you do whatever, you live your life, don't interfere in other people's life or friendly to people, then it shouldn't be a problem. I know, because that's what I heard from so many during this time too. Old people, young people. So and that's what my experience too. So that's all that I want to say too. And life in the Philippines are, much better than back home. At least for me, the gang violence in my country, was terrible. When I was young and in the 60s, 70s, 80s, there was no gang violence. The people, gangs didn't shoot each other. Now, when we came in 2000, all these gang violence, they're shooting each other. They are, even using hand grenades. We had one cop from Chicago, and he came to help the Swedish police, and they had a case where they have thrown in a hand grenade and killed a 5-year-old. And he said that, all these years he's been a cop in Chicago, I had never seen anything like it. So it get out of hand. It's really terrible. And, all the rape and, what happens in my country, it's just, it's not the same country, I grew up in. So for me, it was an easy decision. I didn't want to live there. I don't want to see this happen to my country. I didn't want to be there. I just feel unsafe. And now, especially when you get older, I start thinking about that too. I don't want to be a victim either, And so, I don't want to go out and be worried about, I get robbed, because that happened more and more also to older people, much older than me, they get robbed. And it's, and I talked to a lot of people, older people, and they were really frightened. They didn't want to go out, many of them, go outside. So that's the situation when 3.5 years ago. And what I see now back home, is even worse. So, so for me, I don't regret 1 minute that I left for the Philippines, Now, of course, even in the Philippines, everything gets more expensive. And you notice that, at least I do. So I see, the bills go up, I see since we moved to Manila, these 8 months we've been here now, in the same store we go and, and buy our groceries, and buy the same thing, and it's much more expensive now. The same thing. So, during this time. And this is what happened in Philippines since I came. Already that year when I came to Philippines, 2023, I came in January, and, there has been, I remember that year people were complaining about the price on rice, and, so everything has gone up and still going up and climbing up. And, the electric bill is crazy for people. I've been lucky, I have control over my bill, so I don't get the 15, 20, 30,000 pesos bills. But you have to be careful with electricity, otherwise, it's easy to get that bill. So, but, so everything is getting more expensive. The value of money, for me, the most guys, or the guys from U.S. are, I saw one day they were nearly 62 pesos for $1, and I never seen that high, since I came to this country. So, but the pesos are very weak. And what I see now for Filipino, I think about them because they are really having a struggle right now. And when I read about in Phil's store here, on the other day, 2 days ago, about the families, and many of the families who don't have that much money, and there are a lot of people who don't have that in the Philippines because of the weak, they don't get any high salary. So the kids have to can't eat as much, and that will cause effect on their brain, and for the future and everything. So when I see things, I read about it, I get so upset and so frustrated for the people in the Philippines, and I feel sorry for everyone, and I talked about it, with my Filipino and Gina, I talked about it, and it feels terrible to see how, and to hear that the kids can't even eat, and already now a lot of kids that can't go to school because they can't afford it. I know that I saw another guy from US who put out a video about that. He was talking about his neighbor, talked to his neighbor, and they had told him, that a lot of people around there couldn't afford to let the kids go to school. And now to hear, that the kids can't eat. They have to jump a meal, or they can't. It's just terrible. So the situation now with the war, I don't want to be political. This is not the politics or something. I'm just saying, since the war with the U.S. and Iran and everything has jumped sky high. Everything has. And a country like the Philippines has really suffered, and suffer. And the people, the poor people, and the people who don't have that much, they are the ones who I feel so sorry for, if you don't, you are totally heartless, So my heart goes out to the people in the Philippines who have a really hard time right now. So and when you live here now, like I do, and you see people struggle in real life, who don't have that much money, and all these people, it breaks my heart. So that's how it is. And I hope this war will end, and time will get better. I want to see it change, for the people, so they can feel hope too. So and the Philippines are a place where you can live, with good people around you. The Filipino people are very kind, and through their struggle, they have to fight, to survive many times, the daily life. So many of them, because they don't have the kind of money that other people that we take for granted in many countries, and they don't have the help either that we have in many countries. So you get affected. You when you see this, with your own eyes when you live here, and it's another thing. It's another thing to see it on the television, but when you live here and you see it, yes, it's pray to God that the change will come, and this war will end too. So instead of the prices go up, up. Now, it will, calm down, and I hope so. So that's what I on my mind today, and take care, everybody. Next video. Bye bye.